One mystery in Grand Theft Auto V has sparked more debate than any other mystery in the series, often hailed as the greatest video game mystery of all time. This is Mount Chiliad, which has haunted Grand Theft Auto V players for over a decade since the game was released in September 2013. And now that Grand Theft Auto 6 is approaching, I want to go over every single piece of the mystery that was ever found and show you, despite what anyone else may tell you, that the Mount Chiliad mystery was never truly solved. GTA has always been a series with countless urban legends and mystery surrounding it, although the myths truly ignited with Grand Theft Auto 3 in 2001, when the series transitioned from a top-down 2D game to an enormous 3D open world. Rumors quickly spread about secrets and mysteries in Grand Theft Auto 3 due to the then unparalleled depth of its world, and also because the game was crammed with a huge amount of details and hidden content in every direction. It was this attention to detail paired with Rockstar's biting sense of humor that made Rockstar overnight rock stars in the cultural landscape and created an expectation for greater Easter eggs and mysteries with every installment. With GTA V's release, players were eager to find the next big mysteries and Easter eggs as soon as it dropped, and were surprised when it seemed Rockstar delivered even more than they ever expected. Pretty quickly, players found something odd the moment the game began with its prologue scene. During the police chase, players discovered if they got out of their vehicle and went into this ravine on the side of the road, they could find an alien frozen beneath the ice. This seemed to be related to a moment later in the game, as during the mission Grassroots, Michael hallucinates after getting blazed with a grassroots politician he encounters downtown, which causes him to imagine mowing down endless hordes of aliens. After that, during the mission Did Somebody Say Yoga, Michael ends up hallucinating again and imagines being operated on in a UFO, before being dropped and flying around Los Santos in one of the most fun moments of the story mode. I'll have what he's having. Additionally, a very interesting discovery was found here, as the UFO in this scene has the name Peace Spinning Anus S in the files. Not sure that has anything to do with this, but it's odd to say the least. The mystery truly began when players explored the mountain at the top of the map, Mount Chiliad. Mount Chiliad previously appeared in GTA San Andreas, given both games are based in the same state. While some strange things were reportedly found around the mountain in that title, its appearance in Grand Theft Auto V has led to the most contentious discovery in Grand Theft Auto history, as at the top of the mountain, inside the cable car station, is a mural, which depicts a UFO or an eye above the mountain, with a line going down into a grid of boxes with X's in them, which connect to 3 boxes at the bottom. One contains a more clear portrayal of a UFO, leading some to believe that the top symbol is actually an eye, another with an egg cracking open, and the last one with a person on a jetpack. The bottom images are still the most debated part of the mystery, with the egg and the jetpack never being found in single-player mode to this day. However, some similar things did appear later, which we'll be fully discussing in this video. The only part of the mural that has seemingly been confirmed to be found since the mystery began is the UFO. It turned out just like the spinning anus. UFO Michael hallucinates being in when he's tripping balls. There are actually multiple UFOs that we know of hidden throughout the game. 4 UFOs have been found in the game's story mode, and multiple UFOs have been found in the online mode as well. 3 of the ones in story mode only appear after 100% completion, and 1 appears at the bottom of the ocean in both modes at all times, along with many smaller references to UFOs throughout the game. And one of these UFOs does appear at the top of Mount Chiliad and is connected to the Chiliad Mural. The symbol at the top of the mural can also be found a short distance away from the cable car station, underneath an observation deck at the top of a trailhead, where it can be found painted in red alongside a hidden message on the backside of the deck that reads, "Come back when your story is complete." The remaining X's on the mural can be traced to different spots on the mountain that have drawings painted on them. It's worth mentioning here there is also a drawing of a mysterious face not marked on the mural, which I covered before as a detail that got removed in the 2014 enhanced edition of the game that got replaced with a picture of a cock. It's still unknown why. Perhaps suggesting the guy on the wall was a cock. 3 of the 5 rock drawings referenced on the mural have additional drawings attached to them, which include a moon, a rain cloud, and a structure at the top of Mount Chiliad. Pairing these clues with the message "come back when your story is complete," players figured out they had to 100% complete the game and wait at the observation deck on a night when the weather is stormy. And when all these conditions lined up, a UFO appeared. Though this raised a question that still hasn't been answered to this day. Where do we go from here? This leaves us with the other 2 icons on the mural, the cracked egg and the jetpack. And this is where so many endless conspiracy theories for the last decade have taken form, with no one ever figuring out what the next steps are supposed to be, if there are any. The egg seemed particularly baffling, as no one could seem to find anything that seemed to be the egg in the game at release. But the mystery intensified when hackers on GTA forums found an alien egg in the data shortly after the game came out, named Prop Alien Egg 01. This egg has never been properly found in the story mode to this day, which you can see hacked into the single-player game by my friend and collaborator Slippy Slides here. Moving over to the jetpack, it was also never found in the single-player game, although this mural seems to imply the jetpack could have been the ultimate unlockable in the game, especially considering the jetpack was a vehicle from Grand Theft Auto San Andreas that didn't seem to reappear in Grand Theft Auto 4 or 5. Yet in the files, the same hackers on the GTA forums who found the alien egg found multiple references to the jetpack in the game's code in 2013, finding commands called natives, which handled different functions in the game that were labeled jetpack, and even a string found in the source code marked with dev notes saying it would carry some traits from the parachute mode. But unfortunately, there wasn't anything more found further than this. Though even if players had a jetpack or some other vehicle and tried to reach this UFO above Mount Chiliad, it probably wouldn't make a difference, as it disappears when you approach it, which has made some believe this UFO is actually a hologram, which is unlike any of the other UFOs in the game. Speaking of other UFOs, the same eye on the mural can also be found at an extraterrestrial art installation in the desert known as Beam Me Up in Sandy Shores, this time with a rain cloud. If you rise well over the clouds, you can find another UFO that only appears if you 100% the game, although strangely not needing the rainy day requirement like the clues seem to suggest, unless the rainy condition is related to some part of it that was never solved. Approaching this UFO deactivates the engine of the aircraft you're using, which is similar behavior to one other random UFO found above the mysterious military base Fort Zancudo, which is the only UFO that emits this green beam at night. Weirdly, this is also the only UFO where you can see 2 men piloting it if you were to zoom into the interior. This UFO, in addition to this one in the ocean, don't have any clues near their location, nor do they require any special conditions besides 100% completing the game, which adds questions as to why there's so many requirements to the Mount Chiliad UFO if it doesn't do anything special from the other UFOs, or if there's a possible connection we missed between all the different UFO appearances. With the UFOs examined, we're now going to dive into several other discoveries in the game that suggest there's more to the mystery, including several discoveries that have convinced me there's something more going on here. Around the same time of the discovery of the alien egg and the jetpack in the code, there were some other extremely odd discoveries in the data that remain unsolved. One of the first head-scratchers was an asteroid in the files, which hackers loaded into the game and turned out to be nothing more than a solid rock that only appears when you get near it. Some believe it had to do with something removed from the game, such as a natural disaster mechanic where asteroids could have fallen from the sky, though having to deal with asteroids hitting Earth seems like a pretty unfair game mechanic. Others, however, believe there's still something more to be found regarding the fallen asteroid. An incredibly strange item that was also found in the data near the game's release was an object called Prop Artifact 01, which the community has called the Aztec Calendar, as it resembles an ancient stone Aztec calendar. What makes it even weirder is that it also has some strange symbols on its surface, which were also found separately in the data. The outer ring has pyramids on it, the middle ring appears to be a pilot's mask, and the inner ring has a UFO on it, which seems to confirm it has some sort of connection to the Mount Chiliad mystery. Also in the data is a texture that appears to be intended for the artifact, but doesn't actually appear, which is a single black dot labeled as being a gray phone. Despite the Aztec Calendar being found in the data near the game's release, the calendar was never found anywhere in the game world, leaving it as a large unsolved question that appears to be directly connected to the Chiliad mystery. Around the same time as these discoveries, hackers on the GTA forums also found evidence of something in the game referred to as P Secret Weapon 02. Hacking the object into the game, they only found a mysterious crate, whose purpose is unknown and hasn't been found used anywhere in the game world. References to the secret weapon are in a few strings of data in the game, but no way to activate it was ever found, although Rockstar has been known to do misleading things in the code, which we'll discuss more later in the video. Another crazy discovery found early when the game came out was code for a vehicle that shot a green laser. This code was even modded over to other weapons in the game, and the weapons would then fire green lasers with missiles, which appear to shoot sideways from the player's gun, but straighten out as they're projected. It was also speculated to possibly be associated with two mysterious vehicles that were found in the data that appeared to be similar to planes but were much different, being smaller in size but heavy in weight and extremely aerodynamic. But these vehicles couldn't be spawned into the game because they appeared to be coded differently from the other vehicles. Either that or they were removed. Yet even stranger, there was also a special filter found in the game data called UFO Death Ray, which created this really trippy effect that's never been found elsewhere in the game either. It was never confirmed what all these pieces were meant for, but the fact that a green laser, a flying vehicle of some sort, and a filter called UFO Death Ray were all found in the game's data certainly seems suspicious, though they certainly weren't the last discoveries to give data miners questions. Perhaps the strangest thing in the files was something called Alien Runes Overlay.graphics. Just like the secret weapon and jetpack, there were numerous strings for the overlay found in various places, but there was never a way found to activate it properly in the game. It was, however, managed to be activated improperly by hacking, and was surprisingly revealed to be an overlay that covers the screen, the purposes of which are unknown, although the popular theory is that it's intended to actually display for piloting a UFO, which appears to be backed up by the overlay being found in the code for the first-person mode of the helicopters, possibly suggesting a drivable UFO works in the game as a helicopter reskinned to look like a flying saucer. Could this be related to those mysterious vehicles found in the data? The alien runes were even found in the data belonging to the Psychic Shoutout website, a strange website in Grand Theft Auto 5 that remains especially cryptic, where you can chat with a psychic. It was also found there's an associated string with this specific telescope in Sandy Shores, which if you interact with, you find it's pointed right in the direction of where the UFO floats over Mount Chiliad. It's still unknown what the deal is with the alien runes, but it remains yet another huge unsolved question that appears to be directly connected to the Mount Chiliad mystery. Though paired with the green vehicle laser and the mysterious vehicles that resemble planes, it suspiciously looks like all the pieces for an unfound UFO mode are sitting here in the data, perhaps still waiting to be found. Moving out of the data, let's move back to the top of Mount Chiliad, where there's still a few more pieces of the mystery. Before we look at things inside the game environment, let's look at something at the top of Mount Chiliad that's more outside the environment. After all, looking at content out of bounds in video games is part of what we do here at Oddheader, and there is an out of bounds discovery involving Mount Chiliad. As in the enhanced edition of the game, players found directly behind the Mount Chiliad mural is a cube out of bounds that appears to be made of concrete. The cube seems to be fairly unique to the game, as there's no other known objects like this floating out of bounds anywhere else with this shape and texture, which appears here to have a similar concrete texture to the walls of the railcar station. But the most suspicious thing about the object is that it's located directly behind the Chiliad mural. And unfortunately, like most of the pieces of this mystery, we never found what the purpose the object serves. Oftentimes, random objects are placed out of bounds in games with information or logic attached to them, often in the form of a cube, which are usually referred to as dev cubes. What purpose this dev cube could serve, again, has never been solved. There is also a cube found way below the game world that says this does not exist, which gives given that message on the cube clearly indicates it wasn't meant to show up in the game, and is most likely a dev cube, misplaced object, or even something waiting to load in a different asset when properly called into the game, which makes the cube behind the Mount Chiliad mural unusual, given it has a completely unique appearance from this much more clearly unintended developer cube. Strangely, the does not exist cube seemingly truly no longer exists, as it was removed from the game, whereas the cube behind the mural still remains. But now that we've looked at a few mysterious things that were only found via means that most likely weren't intended by Rockstar, let's look at some more unsolved pieces of the mystery that can be found by playing Grand Theft Auto 5 normally. The Spiderweb discovery was the first submission I received that convinced me there was still something more to the Mount Chiliad mystery, first brought to my attention by Red Run through oddheader.com, with an additional submission later by Zgritter on the oddheader Reddit, as by visiting the railcar station with the mural only between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. This weird spiderweb appears in this exact spot underneath the station. Creepy. The spiderweb is extremely odd, with a rather unrealistic contrast that doesn't seem to fit the rest of the game. No other spider web like this exists in the game, except for one that also only appears between 1 and 2 a.m., which you can see directly at the bottom of the mountain on this beach if you look up at this bridge. Again, these spider webs look so different from the rest of the game, you could easily think that they weren't meant to be in the game. What's strange is although the spider webs appeared in the 2013 version of the game, they reappeared in the 2015 enhanced version of the game, which was odd considering so many other things were removed from the enhanced edition. The spiderwebs, though, still remain to this day, which seems to confirm that they aren't a glitch or something unintended, leaving many wondering the actual meaning behind the spiderwebs. While I've already gone over some pretty significant unsolved pieces to the mystery, we've only scratched the surface, as we have many more things that may completely change your mind on the Mount Chiliad mystery. Stay tuned as we dive even deeper, but first, since we're on the subject of strange designs on walls, I want to give a shout out to this video's sponsor, Displate, who made this video possible. Displate posters are unlike any normal posters, as they use high quality metal that makes your walls stand out, with over 2 million designs available on Displate.com, including licensed prints from the likes of Star Wars, Marvel, Elden Ring, Call of Duty, and Warhammer, as well as art from thousands of creators across the globe. They're also super easy to put on your wall. Just put the protective leaf on your wall, stick the magnet on, and hang your display, also making it simple to swap displays if you need a different vibe. And if you need another quickly, they arrive within 4 to 5 business days, which also makes them great last-minute gifts. Plus, there's Displate Textura, originally on limited prints, but now a full line. Textura adds depth to your displays with 3D contours, tactile textures, and matte and gloss effects, which you can see on my favorite print from Cyberpunk Edgerunners. And now with custom displays, you can turn any image into a premium metal poster. Upload a photo or artwork and get an instant preview and place your order. Use my code oddheader or the link in the description down below to get 33% off 1 or 2 displays and an even bigger discount on 3 or more. Now back to the mystery. One long-standing rumor around the game's release involved a tunnel that goes through Mount Chiliad, where 2 doors could be found, which many believed had to do with the mystery. Players noticed they could hear weird noises and chatter in the tunnel when they brought multiple characters, and thought it was weird no vehicles seemed to go through the tunnel. But also, very weirdly, players found an actual website called ChiliadMystery.com that appeared to be just a picture of one of the doors, with a hidden message when you looked in the source code of the page that said, "It's here." The website went up 10 days after the game's release, and its domain is registered to a private user, which raised a lot of eyebrows about this clue. The website was online and seemingly unchanged for over a decade, until it went offline earlier this year, suspiciously right before the second trailer for GTA 6 dropped. However, even more strangely, this website seemingly predicted something in advance all the way back in 2013. In 2017, it had seemed the website predicted the doors would be a part of the mystery when one of the doors was incorporated into a heist mission introduced in GTA Online, the online component separate from the story mode, which many have argued through the years whether or not it's actually canon to the story or a parallel universe, particularly when it seemingly diverged largely from its original intent of being a prequel to the main story, especially around 2017, as GTA Online added the Doomsday Heist Heist mission, which is probably the most controversial development in the history of the Mount Chiliad mystery, even though more questions and mysteries ultimately arose from it. In the third act of the heist, during the final mission, the Doomsday scenario, the player actually enters Mount Chiliad, where tech mogul Avon Hertz is hiding out in a plan to take over the world, revealing there to be an abandoned nuclear missile base behind door number 1, although we never found out what's behind door number 2. Once inside the secret lair, players end up battling against an army of cloned soldiers created by Avon's super intelligent AI, eventually locating a jetpack called the Thruster that looks suspiciously like the jetpack on the mural, using it to pursue Avon out of the base in a chase scene in the air. Many at the time felt this seemingly marked the end of the mystery, believing Rockstar may have abandoned the original mystery in the story mode and reworked it into the Doomsday Heist, with some even saying Rockstar abandoned the jetpack Easter egg so they could introduce the Thruster as a microtransaction in GTA Online. And while that could still be a possibility, it has never truly been confirmed, and we've already gone over a lot in the single-player mode this multiplayer mission never addressed or answered. The Doomsday Heist is also when people started believing GTA Online had broken away from the story mode in general, and given all the possible signs of its existence that we went over earlier, many Chiliad sleuths still believed there was a way to find the jetpack in the original story mode. However, the biggest thing that had people convinced the mystery wasn't over was the fact that the Doomsday Heist mission also introduced its own unsolved mysteries that seem to be trying to tell the community there's more to be found regarding Mount Chiliad, including one discovery that appears to have some big implications regarding the mystery. The first thing was found by the game file gurus, who saw a series of props in the files of the Doomsday Heist mission that were labeled XM Lab X01, 2, 3, 4, 5, which they believe corresponded to the 5 X's on the mural. By tracking the coordinates for the placement of these props in the game, they discovered the props were faded images hidden around the lab inside Mount Chiliad, with their locations possibly lining up with the locations on the mural. The images include a series of dots, the Voyager symbol, which is a record sent to space by NASA, more on that later, a plant, a sound wave, and more dots. All of these clues remain unsolved. However, those weren't the only mysterious discoveries during the Doomsday Heist, as one in particular seemed to have much larger implications, as in the secret lair are 4 different colored images the community has dubbed the Doomsday Murals. The murals are yellow, red, green, and purple, and each contain symbols that seem to be tied to different things in the game, seemingly connected to the Chiliad mystery. While many of the symbols seemed obscure at first glance, players noticed the green mural appears to reference another mystery in the story mode that players initially struggled to solve. The green mural has an image of an ape evolving into Bigfoot, the number 27, a peyote plant, and a sound wave, which all line up with a wild goose chase that led to GTA 5's most elaborate Easter egg to date, as when the enhanced version released in 2014, players discovered 27 peyote plants were added to the game, hence the 27 and the peyote plant on the mural. Each peyote plant could be consumed, and similar to when Michael finds himself unwittingly under the influence of drugs, your character trips the hell out and changes into a random animal, such as birds who can shit on command. It was a pretty awesome Easter egg, even if it didn't seem to serve a purpose, until the free mode events update about a year later, when more peyotes were found referenced in the data by RK Rusty on Reddit. A number of things about how RK Rusty solved this next part may also have other major implications to the Mount Chiliad mystery. RK Rusty looked at the coordinates for all the peyote plant spawn points in the data and matched them to all the known spots where the peyote plants had already been discovered. This was how RK Rusty noticed the extra peyote added to the data had spawn points where no peyote plants had been found, but investigating these locations further, RK Rusty couldn't find any peyote in these spots. Then RK Rusty discovered one part of the code stated in order for the peyote to appear, it had to be snowing and would only appear on one day of the week. It was later discovered other conditions also had to be met to get these additional peyotes to appear, which included not killing the Sasquatch role player player who appears twice in the game, once in the mission Predator as an Easter egg when you're supposed to be spying on the O'Neill brothers, where you can see him standing in the corner only when using your thermal vision, and the other time in the mission The Last One, which only appears after 100% completing the game, where the Sasquatch is revealed to be a role player. The player also had to collect all 27 other peyote plants, wait until the weather was snowy, then visit the coordinates RK Rusty discovered on specific days for each location, and only then do the golden peyotes appear, which all happen to be around the base of Mount Chiliad, which when eaten transformed the player into Bigfoot himself. RK Rusty also noted Bigfoot is named Orleans in the data, which is proof how Rockstar uses misleading file names so data miners have trouble finding them in the code. Clearly, this Bigfoot mode is what this part of the Green Mural is referencing, although this still didn't mark the end of the Peyote mystery, and how the last part of this mystery was discovered is maybe the most interesting part of it all, is when RK Rusty went back months later to look in the data with the conditions for the golden peyote. RK Rusty realized a new note was added to the code in a patch that seemed to be directly talking about RK Rusty, which said he was wrong to start his hunt on Tuesday. This was surprising to RK Rusty, as the first peyote he discovered and showed the community was the one that only appeared on Tuesday, which showed Rockstar was paying attention and adapting, and also communicating hints to players, possibly like these murals, thus experimenting with the order the golden peyotes can be found in. It was eventually discovered after collecting the 7 different golden peyote in the specific order of Sunday to Saturday, when they transformed into Bigfoot on the final day and made a growl with the press of a button. They could hear for the first time a beastly call and response, which is what the sound wave on the Green Mural is believed to represent. Now at this point, you're supposed to follow the beast calls, but after spending multiple days trying to do so, I have to say, this might be one of the hardest Easter eggs I've ever attempted. The beast calls actually lead you down random paths that pass dead bodies that randomly spawn while you navigate through a series of highly specific invisible checkpoints, which I finally ended up using a mod that actually drew lines towards these invisible paths and visualized the checkpoints, only to find out that the paths tend to lead to dead ends most of the time. Eventually, you can get a path that leads to Thompson's scrapyard, where the body here may end up being the last body in your path, in which case you then have to run behind these boxes in less than 6 seconds, which causes a character called the Beast to appear on top of the plane, who appears to be based on Michael J. Fox's character in Teen Wolf, all in one go from the invisible hunt leading up to this. You then have to defeat the Beast, who has insanely high health and extremely powerful attacks. If you manage to beat him, like I did from shooting him from atop of the plane, you then get to unlock the Beast for use in the Director mode alongside Bigfoot, a mode that allows players more flexibility in customizing the game. And that would seemingly be the end of that elaborate Easter egg, although going back to the Doomsday Murals suggests otherwise. While the Green Mural appears to be solved, what the other murals represent remains a mystery, as well as what all 4 collectively may be conveying to players, although there are a few things to deduce from these images, and also theories around what these murals seem to suggest. The other most obvious mural appears to be the Yellow Mural, as we can see a symbol clearly representing the Mount Chiliad mural. The other symbols are not as clear, but the one that seems to make the most sense is a diagram with the phases of the moon, which could mean the Mount Chiliad mystery involves the cycle of the moon. There is also an image of a head with a line of sight looking at a diagram above a UFO, which seems to suggest that a UFO has to be viewed a certain way, which certainly brings to mind the telescope pointed at the mountain. Several other symbols appear to reference the Voyager Golden Record, which were 2 real-life phonograph records sent to space aboard the Voyager spacecraft in 1977. These records could be scanned to display images of life on Earth for any extraterrestrial life who may find them. But what the Voyager Golden Record has to do with Mount Chiliad, and what the rest of the images on this mural mean, remains unknown. The purple one is where things get even more vague. We have what appears to be a maze, which could be a reference to the maze bank in the game, or it could be a reference to the hedge maze at the court center, although the arrows suggest the maze on the mural is maybe supposed to rotate, which confuses things further. Otherwise, most of the symbols here are too vague to deduct much from. The psi symbol here is often used to represent psychology, and is also used in the logo for Michael's therapist, Dr. Friedlander. A couple of other symbols also appear to reference psychology, and others seem similar to government logos. There is also a yin and yang symbol, which some feel points to a theory that making certain moral choices in the game ties to the mystery, possibly also backed up by the scales of justice icon. Theories for the rest of the symbols at this point, unfortunately, are purely speculative. The red mural is the most vague, and none of the symbols have been tied to anything directly, except the infinity symbol, in a reference to one of GTA 5's most haunting mysteries. Hidden throughout the game are references to a serial killer, referred to as the Infinity Killer, who's known for his obsession with the number 8 and the infinity symbol. A newspaper clipping from 2004 can be found in a half-destroyed shack in Sandy Shores, detailing the killer, Merle Abrahams, and how he died in Bolingbroke Penitentiary after killing 8 joggers 5 years earlier. Although it says the bodies were never found, and Abrahams never confessed to the murders, but admitted to having an obsession with the number 8. What appears to be Merle's house can be found in Sandy Shores as well, at least what remains of it, as it was seemingly set on fire at some point. On the walls of the house are messages that appear to be left by Merle, which include 8 is just infinity stood up, and there will be 8. Next to these messages are tally marks on the wall, which strangely, instead of adding up to 8 like you would expect, add up to 25. The meaning of these marks have never been solved. There are also poems that can be found on rocks across Sandy Shores, such as this one, which reads, 1 is done, 2 was fun, 3 tried to run, 4 called mom, 5's not alive, 6 is nix, 7's in heaven, 8 won't wait. Going to the Bolingbroke Penitentiary, there's another message on the wall, presumably written when Merle was incarcerated there, that says, where water meets land and fire once spewed forth, there the infinite 8 shall stay until I return. Where water meets land and fire once spewed sounds like it's referring to a defunct volcano, and Mount Chiliad very likely may have been a volcano at some point. Next to this message, there's also a drawing of the islands above Mount Chiliad, which can also be found in the remains of Merle's home. And if the player travels to these locations and explores the seafloor, they can find 8 body bags. Damn. From here, the trail for the Infinity Killer mystery goes cold, and if there's something else to solve, like the Red Mural seems to suggest, no one knows where to go next, leaving us with no direction on the mural mysteries, rendering them one of the biggest remaining unsolved pieces of the Mount Chiliad mystery. It has been found if you use a hack to look inside the body bags, like Slippy Slides is done here. The victims are actually women with 8s painted on their bodies, which contradicts the story from the paper of the 8 victims being male joggers, although maybe this contradiction has something to do with the reason the bodies were covered up in the game. Hard to say, but it is odd. There is a popular video on the subject that suggests the Infinity Killer is tied to other killers throughout the GTA games, and even in the Red Dead Redemption series, based on some similarities like the fact that their victims were all joggers or out running. Though personally, while I think it's an interesting theory, I don't think there's enough evidence there to make a conclusion. However, there's still more unsolved mysteries in GTA 5 that may be connected to Mount Chiliad, and a big one involves another creepy mystery in Red Dead Redemption 2. As I've covered on the channel before, there's a woman in Red Dead Redemption 2 locked in an outhouse near the Braithwaite Manor, who if you stand near long enough will begin chanting a series of random numbers. Also in Red Dead Online, there's the mysterious character Madame Nazar, a fortune teller who tells the player to collect rare items for her throughout the online mode. Madame Nazar also appears in Grand Theft Auto Online as a machine in an arcade, who when interacted with enough times will give the same sequence of numbers as the woman in the outhouse.
7, 6, 4.
She also has a number of other phrases, most of which have been confirmed to be referencing random things in Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead 2, but one phrase in particular caught players' attention.
I see a web, still tangled after years of unraveling. Will you be the one? I wonder.
Which from the sounds of things may be addressing the mystery surrounding the spiderwebs around Mount Chiliad, perhaps suggesting that they're still unsolved. After retrieving the number sequence from this machine, you can dial the number with your in-game phone and hear this message.
You were looking for me? Yes.
Saying no, she'll respond with safe travels, but saying yes, she'll say,
The future is open to me.
which is unfortunately where the trail seems to end regarding Madame Nazar. It is unknown if this is connected to Mount Chiliad, although the cell phone is also involved with another strange discovery that could be connected to the mystery. In 2016, when data miners were searching for evidence of Mount Chiliad, they discovered a secret phone number players could dial in the game, 199-367-3767, which could possibly stand for 199 EMP drop or 199 Emperor. Calling this number reveals the caller ID to be black cell phones, and once the phone connects, an explosion suddenly occurs in midair above the player. Not only this, but it also causes the phone size to slightly increase, the phone's theme to change to a unique gray, and its background to turn pure black. Now, if you remember the Aztec Calendar from earlier that was found in the data, there was a symbol that didn't appear on the object that was called Gray Phone, which is interesting considering your phone theme turns gray after triggering this explosion. There is some evidence that the number itself may have been used for testing the gray cell phone mode, but the gray cell phone mode itself and the overhead explosion remain unexplained, nor why it was found in the game data alongside traces of a mission called Ojasad, although no mission belonging to this name has ever been found in the playable game. This could again be Rockstar using a misleading name like they did with Bigfoot, especially considering Ojasad doesn't seem to mean anything, although some believe it may be related to a story DLC that never came to fruition. On December 9, 2013, Rockstar published a blog post about upcoming updates to the game and said new story mode updates would be on the way in 2014. Only thing is, no additional story DLC ever came after this announcement, leading many to wonder if the DLC content would have connected to Mount Chiliad. However, thanks to some leaks, we have some idea of what these DLCs may have been. The DLC we most know about is one that would have involved Trevor as a secret agent, many strings of which were found in the data in the 1.14 update in 2014 that were later removed. A leak of the GTA source code in 2023 revealed more of these strings, but it's still unknown what exactly happened in this DLC. There were also mentions of a train, space, Russian planes, Korean satellites, and even a jetpack, which has led to the interpretation that all of this was repurposed for the Doomsday Heist mission, which did come out several years after these plans, although all of this stuff sounds like a normal Friday for Trevor. But again, the murals in the Doomsday Heist mission suggest players missed something in the already existing story mode. And not only that, Rockstar even made another update we've yet to talk about that seemed to blatantly call out players for not solving the mystery, primarily involving a secret bunker under Fort Zancudo, right underneath where the UFO with the green beam appears. But before we get to that bunker though, more updates have been made regarding the Fort Zancudo base throughout the years in GTA Online. The first one we'll focus on is the gun running update in 2017, which happened the same year as the Doomsday Heist update. In the gun running update, the player runs a gun manufacturing operation and has to go on supply retrievals for multiple organizations, including for Agent 14, who also appears in the Doomsday Heist mission. If the player completes 600 resupplies, yes, 600. Only then, between the hours of 9 and 11 p.m., can they get a secret supply mission from Agent 14. Reaching the site, the player can find a crashed UFO and the alien egg that was found in the files when the game first released. Collecting it causes a group of aliens to appear, who quickly disappear shortly after. After that, the player can deliver the alien egg back to the bunker and the mission is over. Although there is something odd that players can do after completing the mission. Having visited the UFO crash site at Fort Zancudo, if the player enters a nightclub only when it's stormy, rainy, or snowy between 1 and 4 a.m., and then drinks enough Macbeth whiskey to pass the hell out, there's a chance you'll wake up on top of Mount Chiliad and see a UFO fly away in the distance, with this now on your back. Not the weirdest thing to happen waking up drunk in this game. It was after this when players noticed the secret bunker added underneath Fort Zancudo, beginning with a Halloween update in 2022. part of the 2022 Halloween update, a sightseeing event was added to the online mode, which added UFOs around the map for the player to encounter, which could abduct you and spit you out somewhere else on the map with new alien boxers. Sick. In the 2023 reiteration of the sightseeing event, a new twist was added to the Halloween occasion, as now when you got abducted by UFOs, there was a 25% chance you get briefly teleported to the secret Fort Zancudo bunker strapped to a research table. The 2024 update added the ability to walk around the bunker in order to solve a puzzle to escape, though players found unintentional ways to walk around the bunker before this after the update in 2023. Inside were a huge amount of clues referencing Mount Chiliad and objects involved with the puzzle for the 2024 Halloween event, where you had to count the number of objects with the matching symbols on them in each corresponding room to the amount of times you had to pull these levers, which would allow your escape and again grant you the boxers, as well as the weapon the Shocker, and a shirt with an A126 cipher and the same symbols that translates to, "One day will reveal all." A closer look around the bunker reveals more ties to the Chiliad Mystery, such as the alien egg on display for examination, or computer monitors with vaguely similar symbols to the Doomsday Murals. One of the Doomsday Mural symbols shows up more distinctly in a new form as one of the symbols scattered around the environment, which is the labyrinth from the Purple Mural, but now with 4 connected to one another. There's also a mysterious waveform and the eye symbol from the original mural all over these boxes as well. There's even a blueprint for the original jetpack that resembles the one seen in GTA San Andreas and on the original Chiliad mural, next to a flying bike, possibly emphasizing the contrast between the original jetpack and the newer flying vehicle editions in online mode. One tiny post-it note in the corner though seems to be the most direct message Rockstar has given to keep following the mystery. This needs an extra push to close. At this point, Rockstar seems to be almost beating us over the head with the idea that there's something we missed in the mystery. This is probably the last remaining major update we've seen from GTA 5 Online that strongly indicates there's still unsolved pieces to be found in regards to Mount Chiliad. Although there's likely many things we could have missed, as GTA 5's art director even said to Tech Radar the day before GTA 5 came out, there's stuff that's so obscure that most people will never see it. I think everything in 4 has been found. I'm not sure if the same thing will happen for 5. That said, before we reach any conclusions, there's still a few unsolved pieces and mysteries in GTA 5 that appear to have a connection to Mount Chiliad. Multiple cults exist in the GTA world, but 2 major cults exist in GTA 5 that both seem to have possible ties to Mount Chiliad: the Altruists and the Epsilon program. The Altruists appear in the story mode early on as Trevor, when Ron emails Trevor saying he can make some extra dough if he delivers some hitchhikers to the cult, with pretty clear implications they're cannibals. Of course, this doesn't faze Trevor, as he gladly delivers the cult multiple hitchhikers to their demise. After the 4th delivery, the cult turns on Trevor and tries to take him in, leading Trevor to fight his way out, which is where the story of the Altruists ends in story mode, besides an Altruist website in the game with Morse code that translates to the cult's manifesto. However, all over the camp and the graffiti is a symbol that appears to be the symbol at the top of the Chiliad mural, next to what looks like a symbol of the sun. Not only this, but directly north of the cult's camp is a cave in the cliffside, with a campfire and a ram's skull. All over the cave is graffiti that appears to be the same suns and eyes. Additionally, there's 3 messages here and all along the camp that say, "Give thanks, praise him, and see the eye." Given this message, along with the similar appearance of the symbol from the mural and the eyes and suns plastered around the Altruist camp, some have speculated the Altruists know more than we do about Chiliad, with the suns here, along with the moons on the yellow Doomsday mural, possibly further suggesting there's something involving the moon cycles or weather conditions to the mystery. Besides that, some have speculated the Altruists' rejection of technology detailed in their manifesto on the website may be related to the future technology of the jetpack, but that theory is purely speculation. However, something found in the collector's edition of the game involving the camp has only confused things further. The collector's and special edition of the game comes with a physical version of the game map, which when held under a black light reveals hidden messages. Flipping the map over, we can see it signed by TPE, referring to Trevor Phillips Enterprises, meaning we can assume these messages are from Trevor. Most of these messages refer to collectibles and loot found throughout the game. However, there are messages players never figured out the meaning of, and one of those messages is written directly above the Altruist camp, between the crates. However, none nothing can seemingly be found between the crates at this location. Additionally, above the Galileo Observatory is the message, "Shoot for the stars." The most southern part of Pacific Bluff says open grave, where an open grave can actually be found. Fort Zancudo is circled, and there are two messages around it. Take control, with the control tower highlighted, and Titan P996 laser buzzard, which is an aircraft that can pretty much only be found at Zancudo, besides one that appears sometimes at 7 a.m. passing through Raton Canyon, which is seemingly impossible to hijack and has been pointed to as potentially being involved in the mystery. Additionally, there's another message on the map that reads, Lago Zancudo, Great Ocean Highway North through North Chumash, 0.5 miles past Raton Canyon. When guardrail ends, follow the dirt road down to the docks. Bring $500,000 cash. XXXXX. To this day, no one knows what the message means. This brings us to the other major cult in the game, the Epsilon program. Epsilon has a longer history in the GTA series, first appearing as a teaser website for GTA San Andreas, and later appearing in the game in countless references, including radio ads and mentions by different characters in the game.
Epsilon smiles on you.
The Epsilon program is a great way to live.
Which hints it's essentially GTA's Church of Scientology, and that it's an obvious scam for cash. Epsilon returned in GTA 5 with a secret mission that involved Michael. The mission begins on a billboard which advertises the Epsilon website, epsilonprogram.com. Visiting the site as Michael allows you to fill out a survey to evaluate your identity, while Trevor and Franklin refuse to engage with the site any further after visiting it.
Man, this ain't for me.
The website asks questions such as, do you have red hair? Do you have the endurance to lie with 9 partners a week? And do your checks clear? After filling out the survey, a message can be found at the bottom of your test results. Travel through the dawn to the past pictured in our brochures. Look for a red truck with a dent on the right fender. Raise your left hand and recite the words, take me to my father, brother, uncle Kiflom. We'll do the rest, because we all know there is Kiflom and there is Krant, and both be praised. Visiting the location described, Michael can find a red truck on the side of the road. Getting out and approaching the vehicle triggers a cutscene where Michael recites the message, and 2 cult members immediately come out and beat the shit out of him. Michael then hears a transmission that says to come to Vinewood for the real truth, and requests a donation of $500 before he wakes up in the middle of the desert with his clothes gone and a truck driving off in the distance. After going to the website and donating $500, an Epsilon logo can then be found on the game map in Vinewood. Going to the location is what looks like an abandoned building, where he's confronted by 2 more cult members who ask him for a $5,000 donation for tools to all the answers. You can then donate another $5,000 and another Epsilon logo will appear on the map, this time leading you to the same cult member from before, Marnie, doing yoga in the middle of the desert. Not much she says makes sense, and Michael challenges some of her nonsense, but before he goes, she reveals the cult leaders are looking to acquire cars. This is Grand Theft Auto after all. After Michael leaves, he receives another email from Marnie requesting 5 luxury vehicles. After delivering the vehicles to the Epsilon location marked on the map, Michael can find Marnie in the same spot as before, this time with another cult member, an actor named Jimmy Boston. The 2 show off a device that resembles the PKE meter from Ghostbusters, which they give to Michael and explain its use to detect extraterrestrials and will light up blue when one is supposedly nearby. Michael ends up finding a shoe with the device, and the cult members request another donation of $10,000. After making the donation, the cult sends Michael on a bunch of random tasks, such as delivering a plane to Jimmy Boston, or purchasing the cult's robe and wearing it for 10 days straight, which causes characters across the game to greet you with the cult's greeting, Kiflom.
Kiflom. Kiflom.
Kiflom.
Kiflom.
Which is also the only word Michael tends to say when interacting with the cult for the rest of the game.
Kiflom.
Eventually, Michael meets the cult's leader Chris and has to deliver funds in the trunk of a blue car to a helicopter on way to the Cayman Islands, and in return, they reward Michael with a rusty old tractor. Great. From this point on, Marnie continues to message Michael about collecting tracks for the cult that are scattered across the map. 4 of these tracks are in highly suspicious locations. One, Marnie says, can be found where the Earth reaches out to the 9th paradigm, which turns out to be the top of Mount Chiliad. Soon after, she texts you saying when they sail from the north, they will find this offering, which refers to one of the islands where the Infinity Killer's bodies can be found. Another one, she says, is in the core of the mountain, where the blast is not felt, which turns out to be in front of door number 2 in the Chiliad tunnel. Another suspicious track can be found on top of the Maze Bank, which is a location possibly connected to the Purple Doomsday Mural. Once you find all the tracks, Marnie emails Michael an exclusive link on the Epsilon website that leads to a page called the Epsilon Track of the 9th Paradigm, year 157, which seems to be a Bible of sorts for the cult. Like most things regarding the cult, none of it makes any sense, but vaguely says nothing you know is real. Not understanding is the point, and money is the ultimate answer. And that's where the trail ends as far as the Epsilon mystery goes. A popular YouTube walkthrough suggests another event happens from here at the top of Mount Chiliad, but like a lot of Mount Chiliad videos, this is just a very convincing mod and not actually in the game. The cult's leader Chris also appears in GTA Online when you first die in the tutorial in a hilarious moment that reveals that Chris is essentially a god and is used to explain to the player there's a passive mode that allows you to explore without other players killing you, which also seems to reinforce the theory GTA Online events aren't necessarily canon to the main story, given the ridiculousness of this moment.
It is the greatest pleasure, and trust me, I've lain with a multitude of women.
Otherwise, nothing else has been found regarding the cult or the extraterrestrial detector in the game, besides an appearance of the device when meeting the character Omega, an alien-obsessed conspiracy theorist. In the side mission Far Out, Franklin encounters Omega by his trailer, who scans Franklin with the PKE meter before engaging. Omega explains he was approached by higher beings and asks Franklin to look for strange objects for him, which activates a quest for Franklin to find 50 spaceship parts around the map. Once these parts are collected, Omega uses them to build the space docker. He also seems to have an object that almost looks like the Aztec Calendar, but appears to be a different alien object altogether. Aside from being a sick ride you can drive around in, the vehicle is also covered with mysterious symbols on the side, and a possible message in an alien language that remains unsolved. Also very mysteriously, data miners have seemingly found additional lines of dialogue from Omega in the files that haven't been found in the actual game, some of which seem to reference him being abducted by aliens and fighting his way out with Franklin, which could have been a cut mission, or even an extremely hidden mission that's yet to be found that could make Omega and the space docker extremely important pieces to the Chiliad mystery. Unfortunately, these lines of dialogue were found over a decade ago, and in that time, no one's figured out a way to get Franklin and Omega abducted by aliens. Interestingly, some of the parts used to build the docker can also be found in some rather mysterious locations. One of these locations includes the Alien Enthusiast House, where alien enthusiasts gather and talk about different things, like being abducted and UFOs they've seen. There's a welcome banner in the back as well, presumably for when the aliens arrive. Another part can be found with these satellites in the desert, which is also where Michael wakes up after the Epsilon members knock him out. These satellites are pretty suspicious, as for unknown reasons, only in the PS3 and Xbox 360 versions of the game, they were surrounded by FIB agents every day from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. There was also a group of scientists nearby, though they stopped talking whenever the player approached, and the agents attacked you if you tried to talk to them. There is also this very similar scene at this random nearby shack, where agents can be found that will also attack you for staying too long, and you'll even get an instant 2-star rating the moment you leave the area. Except these agents remain in every version of the game, unlike the agents and scientists at the satellites. Strangely, though, these agents and scientists were removed from all other versions of the game. The Doomsday Heist Online also revealed there to be a hidden bunker operated by an intelligence agency, the IAA, underneath the satellites, but otherwise nothing else in single player mode on modern versions has been found regarding the satellites, except the fact that at one point they updated the satellites to have green glows. And speaking of green glows, For some reason, only in the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 versions of the game. It was found and reported by players such as Deadman2112, who submitted this through oddheader.com, that a strange green glow would appear as a reflection in the water on the beach near the Humane Labs and Research, only between the hours of 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. Like the FIB agents near the satellites, the strange glow was mysteriously removed when the game was updated with the Enhanced Edition for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And while the glow could have been a misplaced reflection texture or a glitch, many believe it could have also somehow been related to the Mount Chiliad Mystery, possibly even being a removed UFO location, although nothing was ever found that determined anything about it. And that's far from the end of things going on in GTA 5, as there's more strange unsolved things we're going to go over that may be connected to Mount Chiliad. In certain spots around the map, players have been puzzled by what the community refers to as phantoms. These strange black clouds of mist perpetually float in the air without any obvious cause or reason, and have sometimes even reportedly have been seen taking on a humanoid shape. Stranger, there's only 2 known locations of these phantoms, and one of them happens to be above the bunker at Fort Zancudo. The phantoms have remained in the game even after re-releases and updates, which suggests they aren't a mistake and are meant to be in the game. However, no one has any idea what they are or what purpose they serve. At the art installation in the desert, where one of the UFOs appears, a code can be found that says 6EQUJ5. However, this isn't another case of an unsolved cipher or random gibberish, as 6EQUJ5 is famously known as the WOW signal. To briefly summarize the WOW signal, the Ohio State University Radio Observatory used their radio telescope to analyze radio signals in the sky to search for signs of extraterrestrial life. Nothing of note was found in those 22 years, except for one day in 1977, when the researchers caught an extremely unusual and pronounced signal, believed to be from another life form in the direction of the Sagittarius constellation. The signal was so unusual from anything else ever surveyed, one of the astronomers marked the word WOW next to the data, hence the name the WOW signal. Unfortunately, a signal of this caliber was never observed again, nor ever explained, and whether the signal came from an alien origin remains a real-life mystery that's never been solved. One of the biggest pieces of the mystery not yet mentioned is a series of hidden red arrows throughout the desert that appear to be related to Mount Chiliad. One arrow can be found at the top of this concrete pillar, which has aliens drawn on the side, and very strangely, there's a rough version of the Mount Chiliad mural drawn in the sand next to it, and also has the WOW signal written beside it, seemingly confirming the WOW signal has a connection with the mural and this red sign. Like the original Mount Chiliad mural, what this seems to be indicating is unknown, although at the very least it appears to be establishing a connection with Chiliad in the red sign. Following this arrow leads to a second arrow, which is on another concrete pillar next to the Beam Me Up art installation, and there are drawings of aliens on this pillar as well. While the art installation clearly has lots of references to aliens, it's unclear where these arrows are supposed to be further leading or pointing to, as they don't appear to form a clear path. Some players speculate other arrow signs in various locations could continue the trail, like this arrow by the liquor store and another arrow by an abandoned hotel, though it doesn't seem these arrows lead anywhere. The arrow at the Beam Me Up art installation could be pointing to these 2 water towers, which have the same alien drawings as the art installation and strangely a random unexplained red sign in front of them, possibly lining up as the destination for the red arrows. What the symbols here could represent has been debated, but unfortunately, where the trail goes from here is unknown. The UFO symbol at the top of the Mount Chiliad mural, which can also be interpreted as an eye, has also been seemingly found in many suspicious locations throughout the game. Some believe the eye can be found at the Galileo Observatory, where the monument in front of the building casts a shadow on the ground in the shape of an eye, possibly hinting that piece of the Chiliad mystery lies here at the observatory, or possibly something about the time of day. The eye can also be seen on Omega's shirt, on a poster in Franklin's house, in the logo for the Securo Surf Company, which is the company that sells warehouses where you can store stolen goods in GTA Online, and many other locations, such as these ones submitted by Deadman2112 through oddheader.com, almost making it feel like there's always an eye watching you from somewhere, no matter where you are in the game. I would be remiss not to mention that UFOs also appear in Rockstar's Red Dead Redemption 2. In Red Dead 2, you can find an abandoned shack with dead cultists and a note. The note is actually a mysterious sermon that says at the second hour under the half moon, a mysterious savior known as Cacalba will take the spirits to another realm, and they'll return in the 2000th year at the top of Mount Shan. If you return to the cabin on the night of the half moon at 2 a.m., sure enough, you'll see a UFO above the cabin that flies away into the sky. If you head to the Mount Shan mentioned in the sermon around 2 a.m., the player can see a UFO in the distance. It has been noted the UFOs bear some semblance to the Mount Chiliad UFOs, but if there are any further connections between the UFOs across both games, no one has managed to find any. Near the bottom of Mount Chiliad in Paleto Bay is a sign for a famous hamburgers, which has a code on it that's had players scratching their heads since around the time of the game's release. Someone came forward in 2020 on the Mount Chiliad subreddit and claimed to be an insider who knew the meaning of the sign, and shared the details with the YouTube channel The Gamefile Gurus, who verified they confirmed the details with the Redditor. This person explained the code represents the start date of a Rockstar employee and further details about them, as this developer was brought on to fix an object in the game, and this code was intended as a thank you in return. Unfortunately, any evidence the Gamefile Gurus has that fully confirms this hasn't been made publicly available. So while this is an accepted explanation in the community, a fully confirmed explanation about the meaning of this code is still up in the air. Near the hamburger sign is an egg-shaped clock that many believe could possibly be the cracked egg on the Mount Chiliad mural. The main reasons not just being that it's egg-shaped or right next to the mountain, but also because one of its hands is stuck in a position that appears to be the same as the crack in the egg on the mural. However, if this is supposed to be the cracked egg, there doesn't appear to be anything significant surrounding it, except maybe the famous hamburger sign. In 2018, Rockstar added the ability to own nightclubs as a way to make money in GTA Online. Shortly after, an interesting Easter egg was found in the nightclub, as if you tipped your bathroom attendant 10 times in a row, you would receive the message, "Seeking the truth." Then tipping him 145 more times reveals the message, "Chasing the truth." And then finally, tipping him a total of $577 gives the message, "Bearing the truth." From this point, the player can go to their wardrobe and find the Epsilon robes and a medallion. It's unknown if the medallion, the robes, the quantities of tips, and the resulting messages carry any significance, with some believing this was another clue from Rockstar that Epsilon has some sort of connection to the greater mystery, while others believe it might just be another joke on Epsilon's cryptic recruitment tactics. A popular fan theory the GTA community calls the Golden Path suggests Mount Chiliad can only be solved if you beat the game with good karma, or rather making as many morally sound choices as possible when playing the game as Michael, since trying to be a better person is a significant part of his story. The yin and yang and scales of justice icon on the purple Doomsday Mural are frequently pointed to for this idea, but the theory is primarily driven by the Sinner's Passage mural in downtown Los Santos. All over the mural are cryptic messages, but one message is clear, which seems to be a quote from the poet Grantland Rice. "For when the great score comes to write against your name, he marks not that you won or lost, but how you played the game." The biggest theory derived from this message is that it has something to do with karma, reinforcing there's a golden path for Michael in order to solve the mystery, such as not killing anyone or making him engage in any immoral behavior, such as getting down with the ladies, or other things his therapist might question. Though again, this is Grand Theft Auto, so I'm not sure how much I buy this theory, considering making immoral choices is sort of the whole point of the game. Rockstar seemingly made an overlooked tease regarding the Mount Chiliad mystery after a 2015 update to Grand Theft Auto Online. In the Lowriders update, among many other new features, players noticed a new sniper rifle camo that you could purchase in the ammunition shop, called Etched Wood Grip Finish. Looking closely, players noticed the wood carving showed a UFO over Mount Chiliad, as well as a deer in front of it, which could possibly be hinting at the Peyote Easter egg, or it just looked cool. And Rockstar continued to reference the mystery in the Diamond Casino and Resort update to GTA Online in 2019. This update added some art you could buy for the walls of your penthouse. This art very clearly referenced the Chiliad Mystery, with images of the mural, a UFO, and two Bigfoots getting down at a peyote party, which seems to be yet another clue the peyote Easter egg may just be a step in the greater mystery. At this point in the video, I'm going to mention a few commonly cited mysteries and theories believed to be connected to Mount Chiliad, but have been proven to be false, unsubstantiated, or in no way related. I won't be going endlessly into the random things people have claimed they've seen in random textures throughout the game, as a lot of this is what I would call Jesus in the Toast discoveries, otherwise known as pareidolia, which is a tendency for humans to see images where there aren't any. Additionally, there are many theories based on overlaying pieces of the mural or other various clues over different parts of the game world, but there doesn't seem to be anything conclusive about these finds potentially lining up. There's also a ton of fake videos online achieved through mods, as well as people claiming to be anonymous developers online without any real evidence to back themselves up, which is not worth their time here at all. Instead, we'll be focusing on pieces that seem to carry actual substance on the surface, but have ultimately proven to be dead ends. In November 2024, a bunch of articles were published claiming the Mount Chiliad mystery was confirmed by a developer interview to just be something to mess with people. Well, I'm here to tell you this was just a bunch of clickbait, as unfortunately a lot of articles get published like this all the time that misrepresent the details of the story to generate a catching headline to get you to read. The reality is, in this interview of GTA 6 O'Clock, the developer actually stated he wasn't working at the same studio at Rockstar responsible for that part of the game, as he was helping with other things like character missions, and stated that the Rockstar North Studio was the studio primarily involved with the Mount Chiliad mural. He went on to speculate that game developers sometimes do things to keep the mystery going, but he admitted he otherwise knew nothing about the mystery. Additionally, while some developers may have said some things here and there, as far as the uploading of this video, no developer has definitively revealed anything about the true nature of the Chiliad mystery. Back in 2014, Leslie Benzies, one of the leads of Grand Theft Auto V, left Rockstar and sued them in 2016 for money he felt he was entitled. Some have pointed to this rift on the team as potentially throwing off the Mount Chiliad mystery, although there is no evidence of this. In fact, reading Leslie's case, he says he was the one focused on the online mode while the Hauser brothers, the other leads on the team, focused on the single-player mode. Although again, Leslie left in 2014, years before the Doomsday Heist actually happened in the online mode. Dan Hauser basically remained creative lead on both the single player and the online mode through most of GTA 5's life, up until leaving in 2019, so the fate of the Mount Chiliad mystery was likely more in Dan's hands than Leslie's. It also wouldn't really make sense that Rockstar would continue making references to the Chiliad mystery all these years later if it was unfinished because of a lawsuit and was a sore spot for the team, such as the many references they made in the Drug Wars update in 2022, with the character Dax constantly mentioning that he believes eggs can be found on Mount Chiliad.
Know anything about the eggs on Mount Chiliad?
Which is really just one of the many things that Dax will randomly say, though this comment about different timelines almost sounds like he could be making a distinction between story mode and online mode.
Remember when I asked you about the eggs on Chiliad? One day we should fly up there and take a look. I mean, I never seen nothing, but you read enough shit on the web, there's gotta be something there. On this timeline or the next one, my friend.
And on top of that, Dax can even send you to infiltrate an operation by Epsilon members, where you can trip out and wake up on top of Mount Chiliad. The GTA voice actors have been known to give what sounds like clues about the jetpack and the Mount Chiliad mystery, only for players to find out by all accounts that they're more than likely just trolling. For example, in a well-known troll, Michael's voice actor Ned Luke tweeted and said in interviews that you would find answers by swimming out from the Del Perro Pier and diving down 78 feet. Originally tweeting you first had to go out 30 miles from the pier, later saying at a conference it was 35 miles out, which seems suspicious considering when you go 12 miles out you hit an invisible wall and get eaten by a shark. Even with the use of mods to get past the barrier to these exact spots has led players to conclude that there's absolute jack. So unless Ned Luke was hazy about the details of the mystery, it's safe to assume here he was having a laugh at players' expense. However, a video from 2017 uploaded by Ned Luke with Franklin's voice actor Sean Fonteno shows what appears to be a reference to the missing jetpack.
Hey Ned, come on, let's go, man. Grab your jetpack, your backpack, man. Let's roll.
Alright, man, I'm coming.
But again, considering Ned Luke's history of trolling players, it's probably best to disregard anything the voice actors have to say for now. Another piece to the mystery that was submitted to me through oddheader.com by Bearded Luchador involves a fountain at the Maze Bank Tower. The fountain is commonly referred to as the Egg Fountain because it looks like an egg in what suspiciously looks like a crack in one of the circles, which has been associated with the cracked egg on the mural. Strangely, egg hunters noticed the reflection on the water of the fountain appeared to be a map or something to decipher. However, my friend and collaborator Slippy Slides believes there may be another explanation.
Thanks, Odd. It's been a real treat working with you on this video and seeing everything come together. Hard to believe it's been nearly 2 years of on and off investigations on this one. Regarding the Maze Bank fountain mystery you asked me to investigate, here's what I believe is happening. Some egg hunters suggested that the water's reflection might reveal a hidden map or code. However, after extensive testing, unfortunately, it seems that this isn't the case. The original fountain texture for the water is 128 by 128 pixels and is applied across a large surface area, not just the central fountain, but all 3 fountains. Therefore, at this distance, that coverage highlights each individual pixel in that texture. This could also be compounded by the way the game handles level of detail at distances for the light reflecting in the background, ultimately making it look like a grid of squares in the water or the illusion of a map or some sort of text, when in reality it is just a graphical quirk. To confirm this, I did various tests, including modifying the original water texture by adding a recognisable mascot, just to make sure I had the correct texture, and if we remove the lighting to take a better look, you can see it fairly clearly. Then, as I mentioned, the reflections lose detail at certain distances, which explains the map-like effect seen in the fountain. In summary, this is just a graphical quirk rather than a hidden code or message.
Some people noticed in the collision data that it appeared the observatory in Galileo Park could possibly be split into 2, leading many to believe it could be destroyed, perhaps with the asteroid found in the data. However, the split in the observatory has been proven to most likely be the way the collision is broken up in the game, as the collision map is normally broken up in as many rectangular chunks as possible. I heard a lot of talk about evidence in the files of a solid UFO, supposedly a UFO that could replace the holographic UFO on top of Mount Chiliad. Personally, I saw no hard evidence of this anywhere in my research outside a few YouTubers who shared or mentioned the claim. It is possible it was confused with another UFO that was added to the game in an update in 2016 that seemingly sat there for some time without a purpose. However, it appears this was most likely a UFO intended as a prop for online content, likely a Halloween update, as it was found with an array of other themed online content. Similarly, another UFO was found in the files in 2020 that looked way crazier than the other UFOs found in the game. That one was indeed intended as a Halloween update, as that Halloween was a secret mission where you actually snuck into Fort Zancudo and stole more spaceship parts for Omega in a hangar containing the UFO. Since it was a seasonal event, it could be viewed as just a silly thing that happened for Halloween, although if taken seriously, it does seem to put legitimacy behind Omega and his many conspiracies, which again brings to mind the evidence of his potential unfound abduction. A theory that sometimes shows up involves a line of code associated with wearing the Epsilon robe, which suggests something will happen if you plant a bomb while wearing the robe, based on a theory brought up by a data miner in 2014. However, the line of code the data miner was honing in on is actually a normal line of code associated with the player character at all times, even without the robes, that involves the normal bomb planting animation in the game. While the original data miner still claimed there are specific checks in the data for the Epsilon robe associated with the bomb planting code, this has never been confirmed by anyone else, so unless someone proves otherwise, there's likely nothing unique about this line of code, nor is there anything involving a bomb and the Epsilon robe that players have to do. Another mystery often associated with Mount Chiliad is the mysterious hatch at the bottom of the ocean. Many have tried to get inside the hatch, but anyone who's managed to via hacking or glitches has found there's nothing on the other side. The hatch is commonly thought to be an Easter egg referencing the show Lost, as that show had a mysterious hatch that was a significant part of the plot. However, waiting around the hatch long enough reveals a tapping noise that can be heard coming from the other side. This sound is a tap code, which when translated reveals, "Hey, you never call. How'd you fancy going bowling?" This is a reference to Roman from GTA 4, the protagonist Nico's cousin who frequently calls at the wrong time to ask Nico to go bowling. Damn, he just does not give up, does he? There have been theories surrounding a howl that can be heard on occasion in the Mount Chiliad tunnel. As far-reaching as these theories are, the audio file for this howl has been found in the files, and it's called distantforestwolf.awc, which seems to confirm it's nothing more than that, a wolf howling in the distance. There are numerous reports of mysterious radio interceptions in the game, especially involving a CB radio Trevor keeps in his truck. The reports are largely the same, stating when driving around, Trevor's radio is interrupted by military chatter, and in certain locations, a robotic voice spouts random numbers, seemingly inspired by number stations in real life that are used by intelligence officers to secretly relay messages to officers in other countries. The only problem is that any evidence of these interceptions actually happening is slim, with seemingly no evidence at all of Trevor intercepting military chatter on his CB radio, though he does pick up plenty of other chatter on his radio.
This is Porcupine Pete. Honk if you're horny.
However, an extremely small number of players supposedly got footage of the number stations, although the footage doesn't seem very convincing. In 2 videos, possibly from the same person, in 2013, the player in both videos filmed their television super up close, so it's hard to see where they are in the game. And they sail a boat into the middle of the ocean, when what sounds like a weather alert signal plays, followed by a deep, low voice quickly reciting a series of numbers.
6762771.
Which frankly sounds pretty fake, and doesn't line up with normal number stations, which typically use clear voices and read numbers in groups of 4 or 5 digits. There's also an SSTV signal sound, which provides this image when transcoded. Okay. The inclusion of an SSTV signal also doesn't make sense for a number station, as it's not exactly discreet for doing espionage. Also, curiously, the original uploaders of both videos never responded to questions. Another video from years later in 2020 shared to Reddit showed something similar, where after purchasing and wearing an alien suit and waiting by a lake on Mount Gordo, they heard Morse code and what sounds like Microsoft Sam reciting numbers again, with the Morse code appearing to translate to the same numbers spoken. The Redditor who posted this shared 2 videos of the discovery, claiming the other video was captured by their friend who showed them how to do this. However, no one besides this dude and their friend have managed to recreate this, making this whole thing seem very suspicious. And again, it also doesn't help that all of this would be very easy to fake. Given the many issues with the only footage we have to go off of for the number station discoveries, I think it's safe to say we can cross this one off our list. In Grand Theft Auto 4, after you beat the game, you can receive an email from a mysterious user who invites you to a website called whattheydon'twantyoutoKnow.com, which is essentially a truth seeker's conspiracy theorist website. It has been pointed out in discussions of the Chiliad Mystery at times, the person who invites you to this website has the username Chiliad888, which might seem strange given Mount Chiliad doesn't appear in Grand Theft Auto 4, but given Chiliad was a location in San Andreas and already had an air of mystique to it, it's likely just a reference to that, but it does point to Chiliad having a reputation for mystery since before Grand Theft Auto 5 even came out. An art gallery in Los Santos known as the Uvra Art Gallery has been the center of attention for many GTA investigators, as there appears to be 3 mysterious paintings in the windows. Much has been said about these paintings, and while they are pretty odd and cryptic, I personally think a lot of the theories about them can be chalked up to the interpretive nature of abstract art, and the paintings appear to be a reference to the works of Jean-Michel Basquiat, nor do they seem to provide anything concrete about the Chiliad mystery that anyone's determined. While we did talk about the 2 major cults in the game, there is another minor cult Franklin can join called Children of the Mountain, who have their own church in Strawberry, Los Santos, or rather a headquarters, as the members insist it's not a religion. Based on the name alone, it would definitely make sense to assume the cult has something to do with Mount Chiliad, but there doesn't appear to be any obvious connection. Like Epsilon, the player can notice the billboards for the cult throughout the game, and join it through its website, this time only when playing as Franklin. Once Franklin joins the cult, he's asked to make donations and complete a series of quizzes and puzzles, including an unsolvable one whose full solution is, "You are an idiot." After completing all of the quizzes and donating over 15 grand, Franklin finally receives this t-shirt. Yep, all of that, and all you get is this lousy t-shirt. And that's pretty much as far as the Children of the Mountain goes, which seems to indicate that it's likely not connected to the Chiliad mystery and is more than likely just a scam. In 2020, Rockstar added the Cayo Perico Island location in GTA Online. The location came with numerous Easter eggs, including a literal egg, as players found what looks like the alien egg at the bottom of the ocean under a whale skeleton. The alien egg here appeared to be the same as the one from the GTA Online Fort Zancudo UFO crash that appeared in 2017. Nearby, we can also see the meteorite has been placed in the ocean as well. There doesn't seem to be much more to it though than a cool sight that can be seen, as nothing more has been found that you could do with either object, and they were likely just repurposed for more content in the online mode, similar to the UFOs or peyote that appeared during Halloween, though 73 peyote showed up that time, making them clearly separate from the 27 peyotes mentioned on the mural. Despite Rockstar shifting efforts towards GTA 6, GTA Online is still getting updates, along with the annual seasonal events. In fact, this year's Halloween event is happening right now, so it's worth considering that more clues could drop in the online mode. Though again, most of the recent clues seem to suggest we need to continue our search in the single-player mode. Regardless, nothing significant has been found recently regarding the Mount Chiliad mystery in online mode that hasn't already been mentioned, and we may not see any more updates involving the mystery in GTA Online as we near the release of GTA 6, which will be out in 7 months, if it doesn't get delayed. Which, speaking of Grand Theft Auto 6, on May 6, 2025, Rockstar dropped the second trailer for what may be the most anticipated game of all time, Grand Theft Auto 6, which revealed its release date to be May 26, 2026. However, eagle-eyed viewers, desperate to mine anything they could from this trailer, noticed it revealed more than just GTA 6's release date, as for a split second in the background, you can briefly see a piece of the Mount Chiliad mural in the graffiti on the wall. Is Rockstar teasing players for never solving the mystery? Or are they leading us on, suggesting that the mystery is going to continue in the next game? Sounds like we won't find out until at least May 26, 2026. Well, it looks like at this point we'll be getting GTA 6 before we get any answers to the Mount Chiliad mystery. At this point, we've gone over so many unsolved pieces to the Mount Chiliad mystery, I don't think it'd be easy for anyone to say that there's nothing here. In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say there's something definitely unsolved here. I'll go even farther and say I honestly think we could be missing something huge. There could be an entire side of the game that players have yet to uncover. In my opinion, it appears there's clearly something unsolved involving a UFO, given the many things that were found in the data that seem to be related to other things in the game, and the clues from Rockstar that seem to suggest we missed something. And the Spiderwebs definitely indicate something we never figured out, as well as the hidden symbols in the Doomsday mission. There's also the dialogue that was found for Omega, strings of data about the jetpack, the Aztec Calendar, and the multiple messages from Rockstar indicating we missed something. The entire Doomsday Murals mystery seems to spell out numerous things that can be found throughout single player that were never pieced together. Maybe there's an entire path we've yet to find, an entire mission, a vehicle, a weapon, a character. It's all on the table, given the countless examples we've went over that proved Rockstar has successfully hidden things from data miners and hackers time and time again, and that many things in the game took an extra push from someone looking closer than others for it to finally be solved. This is my conclusion about the Mount Chiliad mystery. It's not solved. I'm not claiming to know anything about the final solution, but there's simply too many unsolved pieces to this mystery to cross this off as solved. Who knows if we'll figure out anything for certain by the time GTA 6 is released, but I can at least say for certain that a few things I talked about in this video will eventually be solved in the future. Not every answer will be interesting, but I'm sure we're in for a few more surprises. I don't believe that there's nothing left to discover, and I don't believe as a whole that the mystery is nothing either. And who knows, maybe we will solve it before GTA 6. Maybe this is the final push we need to finally get an answer. But if we don't get an answer before GTA 6, we can at least hope to solve it before GTA 7. And thank you again to Displate for sponsoring this video. Definitely check them out, as this wouldn't have been possible without them. It's a great product and it goes a long way to support the channel. If you're looking for a way to quickly transform your space into something that reflects your style, I can't recommend Displate enough. Visit Displate.com and scroll through the countless artworks from your favorite license and thousands of artists to make your walls look awesome without any unnecessary drilling. Don't forget to use my code oddheader or the link in the description to get 33% off 1 or 2 Displates or an even bigger discount off of 3 or more. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. And if you know of any updates to the Mount Chiliad Mystery, submit through oddheader.com, come join the Discord, or even send me a shout through Twitter or Reddit. And thanks again to Slippy Slides for helping get the footage in this video. Feel free to subscribe to him down below as well. Shout out to Aaron Johnston, Angel the Fox, Ash Photography, Bitwith27, Black EV50, Chad Biscuits, Eddie Talkspin the Bleach Primid, Flex, Jailbreak, Kieran Bolton, The Meatly, Phoenix157, Rackman22, Riley S, Robert Eisenman, Select, Subrock, and Terrence Stock for their Patreon support. Stay tuned.